Hi, Gloria Lybecker here with Healing You. I was thinking about what is the lesson that life has taught me today? And the lesson that I've learned is that importance to have relationships that are built on solid, consistent, and clear communication. That is really important because ruptures are inevitable to happen in all relationships. I used to think a rupture was like the end of the world when I was young. And it felt like the end of the world because I would be so incredibly sad to have this big rupture between me and another person I cared about. What I'm so grateful to have learned is that when you build consistent, clear communication in your relationships with others, then you can stay engaged in the conversation even when there's ruptures, or especially when there's ruptures. Just because there's a misunderstanding or a different point of view, we don't need to make one another wrong, and we don't need to make ourselves wrong either. When we can recognize that there is a difference between us, we can invite curiosity into our relationship. We first need to notice, though. We need to notice when we do what I call a shift left. So when I shift left, I go more into my left hemisphere and I'm not as relational. And when I can notice that, I can slow down inside of my own experience and invite myself to come back into relationship with me. And that's the first step for making repairs in relationships with others, is making sure you're really heart connected first. So it's very similar to when you ride in an airplane and they give you the whole safety spiel and they talk about you put your own oxygen mask on yourself first so you'd be available to help others that need help. The same is true here about having ruptures. We can have ruptures with ourselves and we can have ruptures with others, but regardless, we do need to make the repair inside of ourselves to have self-connection first, to have self-compassion, which allows us then to have an open heart to others' experiences. So I like the analogy of trees because I love trees, and the tree analogy has supported me in my life as I was on my own path doing this thing called, how do I self-connect? How do I receive my own answers from within? And I like the trees. The trees are also in a lot of different faith journeys. And so there's the tree of scarcity or the tree of judgment. And that's the tree that a lot of us live in and are conditioned by in our world. And when we're in that tree, we are pretty disconnected from life. And we can get caught up in our mind with what we're telling ourselves all the time. And we can be judging things. We can be making demands on ourselves or others. We can be denying responsibility. We can think we deserve everything. So there's a lot of analyzing that goes on. And that's not really being in relationship. And when we can notice that we're wanting to imply wrongness and shame and blame ourselves or others, we can come back into our heart. And I like to go down into the roots of the tree where it gets connected with life, energy. And what that does is it's like have you ever seen how root systems, they're all interconnected under the ground. And so when we can connect into the life energy, we can begin to come back to life by connecting with how we feel in our system. We can notice, well, what was it that triggered me? Right before that, what happened? To kind of catch what was the shock or the surprise or the hurt or disappointment. What's the pain? And notice what that's like in our body. Because when we can notice what that's like in our body, we would start our journey home from there. And we can go into our feelings. What's that feel like? And what's the need that's underneath that? So there's these connections, these tendrils in our roots. And we can get rooted in those connections. It gives us a strong foundation that we can rely on. And so what that looks like for me is really learning how to listen to my heart, how to have this practice, how to have a practice that I get to practice with others as well, so that I can practice staying in the conversation. And when I take time to make an observation about what's happened, and then ask the other person, well, when this rupture happened between us, I'm just wanting to check in and see how that is for you. Is there anything you'd like me to hear? And then really listen with my heart and reflect back what I'm hearing them say. And so those are skill sets that we can practice. And then in real time, when we have these ruptures happen, we've practiced something that's going to support us to stay heart connected, which allows us to stay interested and curious with compassion. And when you've heard the other person, you can also, when it feels true for you, say, well, I'm wondering if you're open to hearing how it is for me. So you can share your own experience, and you can ask them to reflect back what they're hearing you say. And you get to know one another in a deeper, more intimate way from heart connection. So just noticing that practice of the basics, noticing when you feel hurt or rejected or dismissed, noting that down, and then feel into it. Notice the sensations and follow those through to the emotions. What's the flavor in your body of that? And then link it to what is the longing of your heart? What is it you most desire? And then savor that for a while and notice what it's like in your being right there. And then checking in with the other person as well. It's the same kind of process, but it's very somatic, very body-centered with empathy. If you'd like to get to have some practice with this and learn some more skill sets, I'd invite you to continue a journey with me. It's the Healing You Journey. You can learn more at my website, healingyoursanctuary.com. Click on the links there, and we'll make a conversation. We'll schedule a conversation. I look forward to meeting you. Thanks for being on the journey with me today. Healing You.